All right, well, we've got dozens of attendees just logging in, opening up the room. So we'll give that a second for our technology to kick off. And I know over the course of the next few minutes, we'll have additional Goodwill representatives join. But for the sake of time, we've got about a 45-minute window today. So I want to kick us off. And of course, this is being recorded. So welcome to everyone who is joining us live, and welcome in advance to everyone who will watch the recorded session of today's digital marketing for Goodwills, brought to you by Community Boost. We're thrilled to be here and really honored to have had the ability to administer the Google Ad Grants program for a couple dozen local Goodwill members, as well as Goodwill Industries International. And it's from that Google Ad Grants relationship that we've been asked to really help provide some guidance and answer questions around not only the Google Ad Grants program, but digital marketing platforms beyond that. And so on behalf of Community Boost, we want to thank you for joining and welcome you today. Community Boost is a 12-year-old nonprofit digital agency dedicated to nonprofits. I almost flubbed my own statement. We are not a nonprofit organization, but we service only nonprofits. And really, we've had more than 1,000 partners that we've worked with through that period. And we've grown our team to more than 70 professional marketers. And if you've heard of the Nonprofit Marketing Summit, it is the largest nonprofit conference or event in the world. We host that semi-annually, and we bring more than 50,000 professionals from across the nonprofit sector every year. So we'll have a reference to that for you to also join and learn with us later in August this year for our second session of 2023. I'm Brian Leamy. I'm the Senior Vice President here with Community Boost, and I've spent 20 years in the social sector, started my career with Deloitte, but quickly moved to my then client, United Way Worldwide, where I became the Vice President of Enterprise Strategy. So I'm very familiar with the federated structure of our headquarters and local members. And I was also the Chief Marketing Officer for CCS Fundraising, as well as Arabella Advisors, still within this frame. I do want to allow my two colleagues to introduce themselves, and then we'll kick off with an agenda. Emily?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I'm Emily Fisher. I'm the Digital Supervisor of Search at Community Boost. I have a background in SEO, but currently at Community Boost, I specialize in all things search. So that's both Google and Microsoft on the grant and paid side. And as it says here, I just really love Google Ads and search in general because of the ability to add both creativity and data analysis into the platform. And I love that I get to do it for nonprofits as well. So I'll pass it off to Blake.
Hi, everyone. So glad to have you here. My name is Blake Arata. I am the Director of Digital at Community Boost. I have worked here for about 7 years now and really oversee the different core channels that we offer. Many of them we'll be talking about today. I work very closely with Emily in making sure that our strategies for all of our partners is as strong as possible, while also focusing on innovation and the latest marketing trends for nonprofits.
Terrific. And thank you both for making the time to join. We conduct lots of learning opportunities for our partners. And today we're really going to be talking about opportunities for Goodwill. And we're thrilled to have you all here. And what we're going to start with is a kind of definition of the marketing ecosystem. We'll dive into some of the considerations across your digital marketing funnel. And then we'll give a refresher on the Google Ad Grant. We did join the Goodwill Industries International session on June 7th. We'll do a repeat of that and then some for those who were unable to join us on June 7th. And then we'll really dive into the multitude of platforms that you may adopt or may already have in play today as you think through your digital marketing strategy. and we're going to make sure that we reserve lots of time for Q&A. But if you have questions that don't get answered, if you have any kinds of recommendations or interest, this is my email address. I'm going to make sure that I'm front and center in our partnership with Goodwill. So it's as simple as it gets. Brian@communityboost.org. We'll pop that throughout the webinar today. And please feel free to follow up live in real time or after today's session. But in terms of the marketing ecosystem, I think that this image is complex, and it's almost deliberately complex, because the ecosystem that we operate in is complex. The decisions to make regarding where and how to invest your finite marketing resources can be daunting. When you look at this list, this extensive list, and it's actually not comprehensive. There's plenty of additional channels, not even reflected on this slide today. But there's just so many different places that we as marketers can consider moving our resources and investments in hopes that we'll get the highest return. And so sometimes this can create almost inertia where you have to make these decisions, and it's so difficult to try to distinguish between these or determine which would be the most valued approach, that your strategies really drag and you actually don't get off from the start. And so we want to give a framework. This is the beginning of that framework, kind of a bullseye framework, right? And we think about those channels where you could get the most traction. And so given the variety of channels listed here, some digital, some offline as well, ask yourselves questions, right? And we do this often as we are developing a strategy with our partners. But we think about really prioritizing and presenting a score for each of those channels that can help us determine which ones should we prioritize first. And we ask questions like, what would be the cost to acquire a conversion in this channel? And by the way, conversions may mean conversion to a supporter or someone signing up for an email list or buying tickets to an event or other things. The conversion is going to be specific to the organization we're partnering with, and each of our Goodwill partners might have a slightly different definition of what your conversion goals look like. And so through that lens, we want to ask that question on all of these channels. Think about what the reach might look like in each channel. What's that kind of audience size? How much can you tailor and focus your marketing efforts to those audiences? Are they getting you in front of the right segments, right? And so that's that third question we start to think about. And then, you know what? It's the best possible idea is to run a test and really test across as many channels as you can. And so what would it take to get meaningful results that are measurable and kind of give you apples to apples views of one channel versus the next? And once you've got some of those questions answered, and we've got a few more, you can check out the link on the bottom of this slide for a blog that we wrote all about this framework. You really want to rank order which of these channels to pursue first. And that ranking, anywhere from 1 to 10, we've got 9 of them reflected here. But ultimately, with these concentric circles, like a bullseye, you want to have those top 3 in the center. And that's where you start. That's where you think about what kind of an investment should we be looking at, and how do we move those resources against these 3 channels. Now, all of this is in service to ultimately developing a strategy where you can have up to 7 touch points with these potential supporters. And you are most likely to do so when you execute a multi-channel strategy, right? You don't only want to email time and time again and hope that you're emailing someone 7 times and they're opening those emails and looking. You might have emails and ads and other kinds of places where these potential supporters are experiencing your Goodwill brand, driving some brand awareness, driving some, ultimately, as you see in the standard marketing funnel, from awareness straight on down to acquiring, cultivating, converting, and then really through positive stewardship activities, retaining these supporters for the long term. And if you're able to do that, and you're able to get those kinds of average 7 touch points across these different channels, studies show that you can really get up to 3 times the engagement levels as those that don't do that. So let's unpack the kind of funnel for a moment. I did mention awareness to acquisition, cultivation, conversion, and retention. Hopefully these are relatively standard terms that you're familiar with. But if we think about building the awareness and making sure that the brand, your local member brand, the Goodwill brand writ large, is in front of as many people of all generations, right? And who are our future supporters. And how do we make sure that we've got that Goodwill brand front and center? There's lots of different strategies. You can see a few of them reflected by the logos here. And what we're going to do is dive into each of the potential strategies and platforms. But each Goodwill, what we recognize is each Goodwill is likely to be in a different place in terms of the adoption of these different channels and the execution of those channels against these stages of your funnel, right? So we're going to really start at the top. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that happen in the awareness building, Google Ad Grants and SEO as an example, and then we'll make our way down through that funnel as we continue. Now, one last thing about who we are. We, again, represent Community Boost. We've been in this business for over a decade, empowering more than 1,000 nonprofits in their digital marketing and general marketing activities. And the way we do so is two things. We either build the marketing capacity within the organizations we partner with, or we provide it ourselves, right? And when you really get specialized and get up to a scale where you're running pretty substantial campaigns and you're running that across multiple different channels, it's rare that a nonprofit actually has specialists who really understand Meta and Google and all of the different kinds of technical platforms you've got to be specialized in. And so it's often that's when you would partner with someone who can provide that marketing capacity and is built with those kinds of specializations. So I'm going to tap for a moment into what we do to build marketing capacity. And that's called the Community Boost Accelerator Program. Ultimately, this is the most economical of all of our offerings because, again, it's not the Community Boost team who's delivering the work and really executing campaigns. Instead, this is Community Boost really drawing on our decade plus of experience and knowledge in marketing and delivering that through courses, through coaching, and through a large and expanding peer community of more than 500 nonprofits to really teach and instruct and learn, ultimately equip the nonprofits, those partners in the accelerator to conduct their marketing activities themselves. And so that's the side of the coin where we build that marketing capacity. And I'm going to invite my colleagues to talk about the side of the coin where we provide capacity. And actually, by way of today, hopefully we can help to build some of this capacity with you just by transfer of this knowledge. So we're going to start with some Search Ads 101. Emily?
Thanks so much, Brian. Yeah, for anyone who was in attendance of the Marcom meeting on June 7th, this will be a little bit of a repeat, but definitely just wanted to give the basics of search and especially the Google Ad Grant because it is such a great resource for anyone who wasn't able to attend. So just want to start with the basics here. This should look pretty familiar. This is an example of the Google search engine results page. And there are billions of searches that happen every single day. I'm sure everyone here has used Google, so it should look pretty familiar. Someone types something into the top search bar into Google, and then we see a lot of results. Most of us know that we don't usually go past the first page. So getting on that first page of Google is really, really important. And so there are multiple ways to do that. One is through organic results. So that's just kind of this blurred out section right here. We'll go into SEO a little bit more later in the presentation. It's definitely a really important piece of your digital marketing strategy. And we can optimize organic results through SEO, but that is a bit of a longer term game. And so in order to show up on the first page of the search engine results page a little bit quicker, we introduce search ads. And so with search ads, this is exactly what it'll look like on that top example there. There's a little ad indication on the upper left-hand corner. And so we can see how that separates itself, an ad, from the organic listings. And so when we dive in a little bit into the anatomy of an ad, we're able to get really specific in our ad copy based on what someone is searching for. So we know as users on Google, when you search for something, you're looking for a result that is most related to what you searched for, so that you don't have to, dive into a lot of different pages. You just want that result really quickly. And so we're able to tailor our ad copy to the user's searches. And we're also able to use ad copy to kind of explain a little bit more about our nonprofit, our mission, or what a user can expect when they land on the landing page after clicking on an ad. And so now that we have a basis of what search ads are, I want to dive more into what the Google Ad Grant is specifically. So the Google Ad Grant, it is a Google Ads account, but the catch here is that it doesn't require a credit card. So that's why it's such a valuable tool for nonprofits. It allows you to use up to $10,000 a month of Google's ad budget. So basically free $10,000 to use for search text ads on google.com. And I just want to note here, it does function a little bit differently from a normal grant. If you've been in the nonprofit space for a while, you probably are used to grants running out at a certain point. But with the Google Ad Grant, the funds are active indefinitely. So once you apply for the grant and you receive it, you have access to that account and those funds on an ongoing basis. And although the budget doesn't roll over every month if you don't spend the full 10,000, you're also not penalized for not spending the full amount. So it's really just there. The $10,000 is there for you to use, but you can spend as much as it makes sense for your organization. And really, the Google Ad Grant is also just another digital marketing channel that can help round out your digital marketing arsenal. And it can help you connect to users that are searching on Google every single day. So like I mentioned, we'll dive a little bit more into SEO and paid ads that work really well with the Google Ad Grant. But on its own, it's also a very good tool to test landing page quality, ad copy relevance, and really to reach your target audience at a lot of points in their customer journey. So you can use it as kind of a sandbox or a testing ground to inform other channels as well. And the power of the Google Ad Grants is that we can kind of reach users on multiple areas of their journey in the digital marketing funnel. So it does work really well for increasing awareness and reaching that top of funnel category. So we can find a lot of new users who either aren't familiar with your brand or, knowing how big of a brand that Goodwill is, maybe finding people who aren't just immediately thinking of Goodwill at that point and are just searching for things like, best thrift stores near me. So we can really reach people who are ready to take action. They're ready to learn more. And once they get to your site, that's when you can kind of cultivate that relationship and lead them down the funnel to not only click on an ad, but to maybe engage with your social media or a video on your website. Or maybe that's going even further and generating leads to sign up for a newsletter or submitting a lead form. And then ultimately, we really want to use the Google Ad Grant as a starting point to move people all the way down into the funnel as brand advocates who are, completing more, bottom of funnel actions like donating money or items, maybe filling out applications or learning more about the career opportunities that they can have at Goodwill. So now we're going to dive a little bit into the Ad Grant in action. We were lucky enough to work with, like Brian said, about a couple dozen Goodwill chapters. And then we were also able to work with Goodwill Industries International for about 6 months. And so I just want to go over a little bit of the results that we were able to see and a little bit of the strategy behind it. So the goal with Industries International specifically was to increase site traffic after the website relaunch. And Google search ads isn't always the best tool to use as kind of a digital PR mechanism, but in this case, it was really effective in being able to write that ad copy that aligned with the new messaging that Goodwill Industries International had on their website and really aligning with, how they wanted people to perceive the brand. And so the solution here was we built out persona-driven campaigns around user journeys, so targeting people who were looking to shop or to donate or looking for a job or anyone who wanted to partner with Goodwill. So that's the beauty of the Google Ad Grant is that we're able to go after multiple audiences at a time and we're able to run multiple campaigns at a time because we have that $10,000 a month. We're also, again, able to write that cohesive ad copy that aligned with different landing pages, with other channels like marketing, email marketing campaigns. And so we're able to really create that cohesive language. And we're also able to expand into new initiatives and opportunities, for example, Second Chance Month. And so you can see the results here. We were able to garner a lot of impressions on the Google search engine results page, which really impressions are just how often your ads show up on that page. And one thing that I wanted to know here as well is we were able to get a really good amount of search impression shares. So for the amount of times that we were eligible to show on the search engine results page, we had over 10%, which is pretty good for the Google ad grant. So we're definitely able to see some really good results for Goodwill Industries International. And then we were also able to work with specific chapters. So they had pretty similar goals here, increasing quality site traffic, also really focusing on more of that item donation and purchases, and then increasing the utilization of career resources, which people might not have known initially that they offer. So a pretty similar solution here with the Goodwill chapters. We were able to build out multiple evergreen campaigns that were able to run month over month. We did specifically do bid adjustments for really relevant audience segments. So with Goodwill, it's a little bit easier to create this user persona based on bargain hunters, shoppers, people who are looking for employment opportunities, or business professionals. We have those audience categories within Google Ads that we're able to target. And so that was really helpful with the strategy here. And then we were also able to create conversion goals to track actions that were being taken on site. And that's something that's really important that I'll note in a couple of slides as it relates to Google Analytics and how we track those conversion goals. But overall, we were able to see over 1 million impressions, which again are the amount of times that the ad shows across all of those Goodwills. And we're able to send valuable traffic to key landing pages, spend that free budget that Google was giving us for a pretty low cost, about $2.41 per click. And we're able to generate over 8,000 of those conversions, which are basically those actions being taken on site.
Great.
So now that we've gone through Search Ads 101, seen this in action, I'm just going to go through this really quickly on how to actually apply for the Google Ad Grant. So we know with Goodwill that you are already eligible. With the ad grant, you just have to be a 501c3 nonprofit. And so really where you're going to get started is at google.com/nonprofits. This is called Google for Nonprofits. That's the channel that Google uses to verify charity status and get the application started. So you'll just go and create an account there. You'll fill out an eligibility form, which really should take 20 minutes or less. And the answers don't really have a bearing on whether you receive the Google Ad Grant, but it really just gives Google an indication of the type of partners that are in the grant program. So this really should be probably the easiest grant that you might ever apply for. And once you complete that eligibility form, Google will take a look at it and review it, and you should hear back within 5 business days. So it's a pretty easy process compared to other grants, and we really just recommend you get started and at least complete the application so that you can get started with Google Ads. Okay, and another thing that I just want to hit on is the migration from Universal Analytics to GA4. So this is what I was referencing when I talked about conversion goals, or those actions that need to be tracked on site. So the primary tool that we use to track those actions is Google Analytics. And they are migrating, if you don't already know, they are migrating from their old version called Universal Analytics into their new version called Google Analytics 4, or GA4. So the deadline is coming up very soon. In fact, this week, July 1st, they are requiring all accounts to be migrated. And so this is really just a call to action. If you do have a Universal Analytics account but haven't started that setup process, we definitely recommend that you start that process. And we also at Community Boost have a lot of resources available for just kind of educating the nonprofit community on how to complete that, because it will be really essential for not only understanding the actions that are happening on your website as a whole, but also helping your Google Ads accounts, if you already have them, helping the Google Ads accounts function to the best of their abilities. So that's just a good CTA for this week to make sure that's all squared away.
Thanks so much, Emily. We do have questions in the Q&A as well as in the chat. I'm going to encourage all of our attendees today to use either one. We'll monitor Q&A, we'll monitor the chat. There is one that I think is best answered right now, and the others we can address during the Q&A session. But the question that we should dive into in the moment is what the click-through rate requirement is in order to maintain your ad grant status.
Yeah, that's a great question. The click-through requirement is 5%. So I just want to note that this is on the keyword level. It's across all enabled keywords, and it's really just the average. So it doesn't mean that every keyword has to be 5% or above, but it just means on average across all enabled keywords, it does have to be 5% month over month.
Excellent. Thank you. And again, I encourage everyone to go ahead and lodge those questions either in the chat or the QA. Thank you so much, Emily. We're going to now hand this to Blake to really dive into some of the other channels that we outlined in that funnel. So multi-channel digital marketing strategies. Blake Arata, take it away.
Perfect. Thanks for that amazing walkthrough, Em. But yeah, now that we've explored the immense potential of Google Ad Grants, I think it's important that we also recognize that diversifying the digital marketing efforts it's very important. Ad Grants provides us with a robust ability to reach potential supporters and job seekers, but it's not the only tool in our digital marketing tool belt. And as we kind of continue to step into the next part of this presentation, we'll transition from the specific advantages of just the Google Ad Grant program to a more comprehensive digital marketing strategy. So first up, we're going to talk about search engine optimization. I know Emily touched on this a little bit. So important to not overlook the power of search engine optimization, commonly called SEO, is really the art and science of optimizing a website online with its content to improve organic rankings on search engines, making it easier for any audiences we're trying to target to find us. So why would it be really important for Goodwill to focus on SEO? Ultimately, SEO plays a really crucial role in optimizing your presence for those SERPs or search engine results pages, really helping to establish an organization's brand while also connecting with individuals. So with SEO, you're enhancing your appearance on Google for a broader range of topics, but you're also making sure that you're extending your impression share beyond just what's available on paid search, Google Ad Grant, or some of these other paid channels. One of the key things, and we'll talk about the strengths and weaknesses of all these different channels, but with SEO specifically, those results endure over time as Google continues to learn about your organization. And that's very, very powerful. So yeah, let's hit the next slide and talk about some of these additional strengths. So first of all, one of the main strengths with SEO is the ability to boost visibility. With SEO, we really increase our chances of appearing at the top of search engine page results, especially when a potential supporter, donor, or job seeker searches for a relevant keyword that would bring them to find our site. Ultimately, this enhances our visibility and credibility. Next, SEO really is sustainable growth. I would say it's one of the strongest parts of doing an SEO strategy. Unlike paid ads, the benefits of SEO don't really stop when the budget runs out. It's a long-term strategy that really helps to sustain web presence consistently and will continue to drive organic traffic. So if you're an organization who doesn't really have the money to invest in long-term paid advertising, it could be really beneficial to start with search engine optimization, especially if you have an ad grant, since a lot of the results that you can find in the ad grant can also play into developing a strong SEO strategy. Next, better user experience. SEO isn't just about pleasing search engines, but ultimately it's about creating a better user experience for anyone that visits your site. So if you want to have a stronger SEO result, increasing your page load speeds is a really great way to do that. But that doesn't just benefit those that are finding you organically. That helps anyone that's coming to your website. That goes for creating easier navigation. That goes for updating content and videos on site. All of those things ultimately help anyone that finds you. And lastly, and we kind of touched on this, it plays into sustainable growth. It is very cost-effective marketing on SEO. There's a learning curve, and it's definitely one of the more challenging channels. And there is a time investment component. But once you invest that time, it's a very cost-effective way to continue to drive traffic to your site. Awesome. Yeah, we included, a lot of people ask, what does SEO actually look like? I hear about it all the time, but I don't know what those kinds of work or optimizations are. And so we included a list. We're not going to go through all of them here, but at Community Boost, specifically how we help our partners every month with SEO. And that can look like doing competitor analysis to see how other similarly related organizations, what kind of keywords they're going after. It looks like auditing the content that's currently on your site. It looks like doing keyword research and doing backlinking to make sure that other organizations are linking back to you. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we can do. And this gives you an idea of, if you want to start your own strategy, where you should start. Awesome. Up next, search ads. So I want to clarify, this is different than the Google Ad Grant. They run very similarly, but this is when you actually put paid ad spend behind the search campaigns that we're running. So I'm going to talk about both Microsoft Ads and Google Paid Search kind of in the same conversation, even though they are different channels, but they operate very similarly. So you have a Google Ad Grant, you're maximizing it. That's great, but that really is just the beginning of search strategy. To fully harness the power of search intent and to create a comprehensive digital marketing strategy, you have to move beyond the constraints of the ad grant and think of other potential options like Google Paid Search and Microsoft. For some of the reasons that Emily's already talked about, Google Ad Grant is great for top of funnel traffic. You have some limitations on the amount that you can bid. You have to keep very specific click-through rates. And ultimately, there are some constraints on how often your ads are seen with the Google Ad Grant. So the way that it works is for paid search, and Google specifically, those paid ads will always show up above a Google Ad Grant ad. And they often show up 3 or 4 times at a higher rate than Google Ad Grant as well. So it just gives us more opportunity to be competitive, and using both in conjunction really helps to build top of funnel traffic, which is great for awareness and getting people to your site, as well as bottom of funnel with the paid search to drive conversions and move the needle for whatever your mission is. We can go to the next slide and talk about the very specific strengths here. Perfect. Number one, just touching on that, increase visibility and reach. Google commands a vast majority of the search market, and Microsoft's Bing actually provides access to a unique, often untapped demographic that isn't available on Google. So when you combine the two, you have a very, very wide audience that you're able to target. I do want to clarify that you can run both Google Ad Grant, Google Paid Search, and Microsoft ads all at the same time without cannibalizing your efforts, as they do run on separate networks. So you don't really run into too many issues there. Next, you have greater control and flexibility. Paid search does allow for advanced targeting options, ad scheduling, demographic selections, ultimately enabling advertisers to reach the right people at the right time with the right message. It does give advertisers a higher competitive edge. Paid ads, like I mentioned, do generally appear above organic listings, and they do show up above the grant listings, giving all of us an opportunity to dominate the search engine results page and compete effectively for high value keywords. Those keywords that are maybe too expensive for the ad grant, you can actually target with paid search, both for Microsoft and Google. And lastly, we can use paid search to drive desired actions, whether it's driving donations, increasing awareness, promoting services, or driving traffic to a specific website. Google and Microsoft Paid Search really give us the power to motivate action beyond what is just available with the Google Ad Grant. One other thing that I'd be remiss not to mention, Microsoft actually does have their own version of the grant. It's pretty new. It came out sometime last year. The program is currently paused. We don't know exactly when it's going to be re-enabled. We're hoping in July. But for those of you that are already taking advantage of the Google Ad Grant, please look into the Microsoft Ad Grant. I'm not going to get into all the specifics of the program. It runs similarly to the Google Ad Grant, where you do get free ad spend per month, and there's other levels to it, but definitely an awesome program to check out. If you have a successful Google Ad Grant, you can actually export the results from Google Ad Grant and move it into the Microsoft Ad Grant. So keep an eye out for that. Next, let's talk about one of my favorite channels, meta advertising. So this includes both Facebook and Instagram. It's just so important that we talk about this channel. It is a vast, socially driven world, and Meta is one of the top players as far as platforms. Why Meta? Why is it so strong? One of my favorite reasons that organizations should be using Meta advertising is it really can play at any part of the marketing funnel. It's great for top of funnel new awareness and engagement. It can send traffic. It can generate leads at the middle of the funnel. And then, of course, it's incredible for driving new program enlistment, driving donations, fundraising, Facebook and Instagram page growth. It can do pretty much everything. But let's talk about the specifics. So why should Goodwill leverage the power of meta ads? Firstly, it has an unmatched user base with billions of users globally. Meta offers an unparalleled opportunity to reach and engage potential supporters, volunteers, and job seekers. They have 3.74 billion monthly users, and it's the third most visited website in the world. It also has very, very precise targeting. So Meta's robust targeting capabilities allow it to reach audiences based off so many different things. We're constantly feeding information to Meta. It's so much data, and then it's able to use that to understand audiences' demographics, their interests, their behavior, their location, ultimately making sure that any kind of advertising message we send out resonates with the right people. Third, the enhanced engagement is unlike many other channels. Meta platforms are designed to promote interaction. Ads that feel like organic content do inspire likes and comments and shares and clicks. It's a very viral platform. So, and that's a very great intended effect of running ads on Meta, is that you can really start to amplify your reach even with a very basic post, boosted post or ad. And then lastly, my favorite reason, because I love to nerd out on data and analytics, is Meta's Meta Pixel. It's one of the strongest targeting pixels that exists out there for different platforms. Meta really does provide a comprehensive performance tracking and data analytics pixel that really empowers advertisers to continually optimize their campaigns and ensure that they're making the most of their advertising spend. They'll tell you when someone drops off and doesn't take a certain action. They'll let you know how long this person was on your site, what they visited. If someone did take action years ago, you can retarget and push that person to take action again. The remarketing capabilities in Meta are extremely strong, in my opinion, one of the strongest. Okay, great. How are we doing on time here? I want to make sure we save some time for Q&A, but I think we're moving. We're doing okay. Awesome. Let's talk about YouTube ads. One of my favorite channels, newer channels that's come out in the last few years. Not that many people are talking about them, but it's a massive opportunity for the nonprofit space. Mainly because the powerful medium of video just can't be ignored. I feel like many of us have heard video is king or queen. That's where people's attention at is on video. And that really is the case for YouTube, especially because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world behind Google. Many people don't know that. It's very massive. It draws in 6 billion logged in visitors each month. And it's also owned by Google. So a lot of the campaigns that you run on paid search, display, the Google ad grant, all of that is housed in a very similar platform that YouTube is. And all of that data can be used in conjunction with YouTube, which is very important. One other thing that I want to make sure I mention here before we get into the other strengths is it has some of the strongest brand awareness and reach potential. It's so cost effective that typically on average, it's about 1 cent per unique user reached or view. It's so much cheaper than most other platforms. Even if you're looking to do a very small test, YouTube is a great place to start. So let's talk about some of the very specific strengths of the platform. Awesome. Visual storytelling. Like I mentioned, video content has the power to tell compelling stories, spark emotions, and create a strong connection with viewers. It's one of the most effective ways to showcase an organization's work, inspire support, and share success stories. I'm not going to get too into this story, but it's one of my favorites. I love the organization Charity Water, and they were actually one of the first organizations to test YouTube advertising that I saw. And they definitely went against the status quo. They created a 20-minute long video that they uploaded to YouTube, just really telling the story of their founder, Scott Harrison, and it's incredible. If you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to watch it. Both the video is incredible, but the comments and the response is also equally incredible. I posted one of the comments here. There's many more like it, but so many people are saying, I never heard of Charity Water. This is one of the best ads ever, period. I've never been captivated like this before. And it's the power of video storytelling in a way and on a platform that's meant for it. Definitely highly encourage you all to check out that video and use it for inspiration. Next is extensive reach. Like I mentioned, with billions of active users, YouTube offers an opportunity to reach a vast, diverse audience and increase an organization's visibility on both mobile and desktop platforms. YouTube also has precision targeting, very similar to other Google-owned platforms. YouTube offers detailed targeting options. We can show our ads to specific age groups, genders, interests, geographical locations, but most importantly, you have the ability to make sure that your ad shows up on another video or channel of someone that you follow. So very easy to, if you understand your persona well and have an idea of what kinds of videos they might consume, you can just say, I want my ad to show up at the beginning of this video. Very, very great at making sure that you're targeting the right people. And then lastly, engagement and leads. Video content often drives higher engagement rates than text-based content, as we should know. You can do so much with YouTube's call to actions. You can have them fill out a form immediately on the video. You can send them to a website. You can have them donate directly from the video. And also a very cool added effect is that any view that you get on the YouTube ad, that actually translates over to your organic video as well, if that's posted on your channel. So the great thing is that you're almost getting like free social proof on your organic videos by running your ads. Like I mentioned, for a cent a pop or cheaper, it's definitely worth the investment. Perfect. And let's get into LinkedIn ads. I know some people are asking about if we're going to stay on longer. Oh, Brian handled that. Awesome. We only have a couple other channels here too. So thanks for hanging in there, everybody. We're going to talk about LinkedIn. Would be very remiss to not talk about this channel. It is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, professional networking site. And it does deserve kind of special attention. And it's a lot more than just a search platform or a job search platform. It's really a rich networking hub that can do so much on the advertising front. So let's talk about some of the strengths here. Perfect. First and foremost, it does give advertisers the ability to access professionals and businesses. LinkedIn is unique in that it can reach potential corporate donors, professional volunteers, partners, anyone that could support Goodwill's mission in various ways. It also has very precise targeting, but in a different way. LinkedIn's advanced targeting features enable advertisers to display ads in highly specific audiences based off of industry, job function, seniority, company size, skills, and a lot more. You can send very targeted messages. In my opinion, probably the most targeted of any of the channels we've talked about. And you're most likely to get a response because you're targeting an individual versus a group or interest of individuals. Next, LinkedIn has very strong credibility and trust. The professional context enhances the credibility of the messages that are being sent on the ad space. So you can expect users to engage with your ads, direct messages. They're not going to get ignored as often as some of the other channels that we've talked about. And then lastly, the lead generation on LinkedIn is some of the strongest of any channel. Lead gen forms can really help organizations collect high quality leads from people who have shown interest in ads, and really makes it easier to convert them into taking the next step. LinkedIn often is connected to email platforms or other channels. So it's very easy to drive a lead from LinkedIn, move them into your CRM or email, and then follow up with them from there. Perfect. And then last but not least, email marketing and automation. We can't overlook the enduring power of email marketing. I'm sure many people here are using email in some capacity. but there are a lot of strengths about email that get overlooked. I want to make sure we talk about them today. So why should Goodwill invest in email? Email just provides users a direct line to an audience inbox, away from the noise of social media. It allows organizations to share updates, stories, calls to actions in a personal and non-intrusive way, unlike a lot of the other channels that we've talked about. It's one of the most direct lines of communication to your constituents. It also allows you to build relationships through regular newsletters, personalized emails. It's a great way to keep supporters engaged, keep them updated on impact, and build long-term relationships based on mutual trust and shared values. One of the most important things that sometimes get missed is that email has such a high ROI, or return on investment, especially when you are utilizing it with other tools like SMS. That's something that I think gets missed by a lot of nonprofit professionals. Is a lot of these platforms that are being used now, like Klaviyo and others, they have SMS capabilities. And those are the tests that Community Boost is currently utilizing and using that are driving some of the highest ROI in the sector. Email also allows for targeted messaging. Of course, you can segment based off of the different parts of the audience that you're targeting. It allows you to tailor your message to those people and a lot more. Ultimately, it just helps to refine the approach and create more impactful campaigns. And then lastly, email is very great at measurable impact. Most of these platforms have very detailed analytics tools. You can track open rates, click-through rates, conversions, and a lot more. And this ultimately helps to refine the approach and create more impactful campaigns. And we did include an example of some of the work that Community Boost does. We talk about automations, and sometimes people don't know exactly what that looks like. So this is an example of one of our automation maps for a welcome series, specifically for donations. We wanted to include it here just to provide some inspiration as we will be sending this deck out. If you want to take a look, that's there for you.
Perfect. Blake, thank you so much. That was a lot to cover, lots of different channels and great information. We're scratching the surface, right? I mean, there's so much more detail under each one of those. And if you were really paying close attention, we didn't touch every single channel there is. We didn't talk about TikTok. We didn't really scratch into digital audio or other things. So I want to, button up the very specific channel conversation. We do have a number of questions in our Q&A, and then of course in the chat. If you missed my entry, I mentioned that we'll stay on. We already have stayed on past the 45-minute mark. We're 4 minutes over. There's not a hard stop for us as Community Boost, so we'll dive into your questions. Please lodge them in either of these channels here, and follow up with any kinds of email questions. This also is not a comprehensive perspective of the things that Community Boost does, but you can see most of the things that we spoke about today already reflected, and then some others that we did not reflect upon. Nobody spoke about Twitter. We didn't touch on animated videos or digital audio and some of these other things. If you do have a very particular campaign need or marketing need for your Goodwill and you don't see it here, or you may not have heard us refer to it, please reach out, ask us. There's a lot of things that we are developing today and launching live throughout this year. We've really grown from primarily 3 services from a few years ago to more than 24. And so we're happy to work with Goodwill, and in fact, specifically around a Goodwill partnership discount. We talked about working with 24 of the local members earlier in the year and last year, as well as GII. But that was under a sponsored model where Google itself was really subsidizing the work and the fees that Community Boost delivers. So we do have direct services that each of our nonprofit partners pay for. I started our conversation today with how we go about building capacity, right? And that's the accelerator program. That's our trainings. That is the most economical of our services. it's $4,000 for an entire year of service. And so as you can see, the price point is low when you really break that down to what we're talking about per month. But for Goodwill in particular, we've spoken about these kinds of volume discounts. And out of the gates, we're already taking $500 off of the retail price. So we're in the market at $4,000 per year for the accelerator. If there are any Goodwill partners interested in learning more, signing up, joining that community, really getting access to the kind of support that Blake and Emily just spoke through, that's what you can expect in that accelerator module, with recorded trainings, with office hours and kind of coaching sessions. And so for the first 5 Goodwills, that would be at $3,500. And I won't read the rest. You can see what kind of discounts that we're interested in making sure that we provide to Goodwill as a key partner to us. So I'm going to pivot now to the Q&A and make sure that anything that we dove into, some we've answered already here, but I want to make sure that the entire audience hears those. First and foremost, there was a question, Emily, around the Google Ad Grant criteria. I know that you spoke through the click-through rates, right? And you gave an answer to other criteria that might be required. The link I just dropped into the chat here, Emily encouraged folks to look for stipulations within the Google Ad Grant compliance guide. And so all of those requirements beyond just clicks is really represented here in Google's guide. Another topic was still in that this was within SEO. And so Blake, any platforms that we recommend to help nonprofits with keyword optimization? Actually, I'll let Emily, she responded directly. Can you share that response with our audience?
Yeah, I just started to type a response. I was curious if Blake had anything to add to this. It's a little bit more of a complex question that, would probably require a bit more of a strategy deep dive and understanding, what keywords you're going after, things like that. But I would say, do a little bit of keyword research to see if there are other variations or long tail keywords that you can go after that have more search volume. It also just kind of, depends on, what we're talking about when we say more search volume. Not every keyword you go after has to have thousands of monthly searches. If there are a smaller amount, maybe 70 average monthly searches, but that's going to be a really relevant keyword for you and it is kind of attainable in that competition arena, then I think you should definitely go for it. But if it's the type of keyword that historically has 0 monthly searches, at that point, you don't want to do SEO for something that people aren't actually searching for. So that is the catch with both SEO and with Google Ads search wise. You do have to be going after keywords that people historically type into Google. Now there are new searches that happen every single day. So that's why continued keyword optimization is important, because you can be finding new searches that people are making and connecting with people that way. But I would say, there's a lot that goes into SEO, like Blake mentioned, but if you're wanting to start somewhere, tackling title tags and meta descriptions, internal link building, keyword insertion, and site speed is what I would recommend. But Blake, I'm curious if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially with, it really depends on where your site is at. I would recommend doing an audit of your site, and a lot of the tools like Moz or SEMrush, they do free 30-day trials. So I would recommend doing the free trial, getting access to their auditing tools, run an audit on your website, and it will tell you exactly where you need to focus to increase your SEO results. And then you have that, and then you can kind of just internally decide how you want to go about it, whether you continue to use the tool or not. So everything that Emily said, plus definitely highly recommend starting with an audit. That's also something we can do for you too, if you want to reach out to us.
Thanks so much, Blake and Emily. Next question I could just take quickly was, what are evergreen campaigns? So Blake mentioned early on, there was a reference to some of the channels being really good in support of evergreen campaigns. So an evergreen campaign is just one that doesn't have a finite kind of start and end date. Many campaigns are only running for a specific period of time. And if you don't have that end date, you're kind of evergreen in the kind of open posting and kind of activity around that campaign. So that's our evergreen campaigns. Another question was about any email automation platforms for nonprofits that are free to use. And yes, there are several, but one in particular who's a really strong partner of ours at Community Boost is a platform called GiveButter. They actually have an incredible set of features beyond strictly kind of the email automation, and it's the best fee model that you can ask for in that they do kind of offer many of these things for free. So check that out. It's called, again, GiveButter. We can drop that in the chat here as well. Next question was about a newer organization with kind of a newer topic and that's rarely searched. Like, where do you begin if you're at almost ground zero to lift off an initiative or a nonprofit? How do you get SEO results? And Emily, I think you had a good response to that one.
Thanks. Yeah. Sorry, I think I accidentally switched the answers. What I was previously talking about with SEO was, I think, the question about, what you just addressed, Brian. So sorry, it was a little bit switched. The platforms that we use for keyword research are Google's Keyword Planner tool, which can be found within Google Ads. And then the other tools that we like to use are SpyFu, SEMrush, Keywords Everywhere. Blake mentioned Moz for a good SEO tool as well. So sorry if I mixed up those two, but I think now both those questions were covered.
They have. We've checked those boxes. Thanks so much, Emily. And speaking of platforms and tools, no surprise, we've got an AI question, right? And so should nonprofits be using any specific AI tool to help with their SEO headlines or descriptions? Or honestly, where should nonprofits be thinking about deploying some AI content support? Blake?
Yeah, specifically for SEO and for content, we use a tool called Jasper at Community Boost. It works really well, and the pricing model is very reasonable. And then we also use AI PRM. Whoever had asked this question, they wanted something outside of ChatGPT, but this is actually an extension of ChatGPT, which helps with SEO and pre-prompting for AI. It's a very powerful tool that we use for all of our ChatGPT uses, and definitely recommend checking it out.
Brilliant. Thank you. I think we might have one or two more.
There were some open questions, I think.
Yeah. So when adding, this is a really important and helpful question. Mm-hmm. So Blake, you alluded to including SMS as an extension of your email strategy. And do you need to, when you do that, request consent on each of those platforms?
Absolutely. Yep. You need to ask for consent for email opt-in as well as SMS if they're giving you their phone number. So that is kind of one of the downsides to starting SMS campaigns. You actually have to build those number lists, contact lists, but you can use other platforms to help build those leads. We actually will often use meta ads or paid search to get people to site to then opt into an email list while also then giving their phone number. But yes, very, very important that you have consent given before you do any kind of outreach.
That's really perfect. Thank you so much. And there's one final question, and we're going to wrap up right at the top of the hour. But I think it's because we started talking about YouTube, we started talking about TikTok, and we're thinking about video, right? And are there any, again, economical, affordable, but powerful platforms that we might recommend nonprofits to use to edit long form video? And if we don't have our recommendations in front of us, we could certainly take that back to our video team and our YouTube team to see what they use. But Blake, Emily, anything that you would recommend?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I might want to circle back with the video team and make sure that we recommend multiple different tools at different price levels. But I do know of Movavi is one that is used pretty heavily in the digital marketing realm, and one you could check out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone who stayed for these extra minutes for your time today. I appreciate all of our attendees and interested parties. again, if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out. I hope this was really helpful in building your awareness and helping set some initial marketing strategies on digital. We're here to help and partner, and we wish you a wonderful rest of your week. Thanks so much, all.
Thanks, everybody.